Hello, today's children's story is taken from Mark chapter 5, verses 21 to 43. Our story begins when Jesus was coming back from the other side of the Sea of Galilee. Somehow, a large group of people found out where he was going to be, so they soon gathered around him. I'm sure many of those people were really excited to hear what Jesus had to say, and they tried to get as close to him as they possibly could. But there was one man in that crowd who kept pushing his way until he got to the front, and when he got there, he fell down at the feet of Jesus. The Bible tells us that this man was Jairus, and Jairus was one of the rulers of the synagogue. In those days, being a ruler of the synagogue was a respected and important position. If our church was a synagogue, then the ruler would be the one in charge of taking care of the building, deciding who got to present at the front of the church, and also they would take care of the sacred writings that everybody would read from on Sabbath morning. When Jairus was still kneeling on the ground in front of Jesus, he started to beg Jesus to come to his house. You see, Jairus' daughter was very sick, and he was afraid that she was about to die. But Jairus knew that if Jesus just put his hands on her, that she would be healed and live. After hearing his request, Jesus started following Jairus to his home. But while they were on their way, some people came from Jairus' house saying, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" Jairus' heart must have broken when he heard the terrible news, but before he could cry in despair, Jesus told him, "Don't be afraid. Just believe." All of a sudden, Jairus had an important decision to make. Would he have faith and believe that Jesus could still make his daughter well again? Or would he accept that the situation was hopeless and send Jesus away? Thankfully, Jairus decided to believe in Jesus, and they both continued heading towards his house. When they arrived at the house, there were already a lot of people inside who were mourning and crying loudly. As Jesus came in, he said to them, "Why all this commotion and wailing? The child is not dead, but asleep." But when the people heard this, they started to laugh at Jesus. They probably thought that Jesus was crazy. Jairus' daughter was dead, and as far as they were concerned, that was the end of the story. But because of their attitude, Jesus had all of them put out of the house. Then he, the girl's parents, and 3 of Jesus' closest disciples went to where the little girl lay. Jesus held the girl's hand and said, "Little girl, I say to you, get up." Immediately, the girl stood up and began to walk around like normal. The 5 other people in the room were astonished, but more importantly, Jairus and his wife were happy and overjoyed that they had their precious little daughter back. Now, as I end this story, I want you guys to listen and remember what Jesus said in Mark 9, verse 23. If you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes.